When I was just starting out as a professional forester, we didn't have cell phones. There was no GPS network in the sky. Uh, we had no way to connect back to the Woodlands office or even to connect with anybody in town for that matter. Uh, and our truck two-way radios, they were often not very helpful either because we were so far out in the backwoods. We'd be behind some mountain or whatever that was blocking the signal. That was back in the olden days, as my daughter Cassidy would say. So I was a forestry planner working at Weyerhaeuser Canada, first in Vavenby and then Princeton, British Columbia. And it was my job to find harvestable timber to make, lumber at the mill. And so I had to go out and go way beyond into the bush to find, to check the quality of the timber, to do engineering reconnaissance, to mark the areas that would be harvested and the center line of the road, the trails, the landings. I sample the ecosystem and the soils so that I could put together a good prescription for the careful harvest, but also regeneration of the forest after we'd harvested it. And then get this, I would take all that information, I'd survey the area with a steel chain and a compass. And I'd take all that information back to the office and draw the map on a Mylar because there was no map. I'd draw the map and then photocopy it and color it in with colored pencils. Oh my God, it was the olden days. Can you believe that? Anyway, so I worked for months all by myself out in the bush. And my only regular companion was Raven. And Raven was reliable, show up every day, fly over me, croak, and tell all the other creatures in the forest that I was there. Sometimes he'd hang around, but mostly just take off. And I started to imagine the view that Raven has. They usually just fly just above the trees, maybe a little higher, but they could see the whole landscape, but they could also just look down and see right into the forest. And this really connected with me because I was doing all my navigating using black and white aerial photographs because there were no maps. The scale I remember was 1 to 15,840, if you're old enough to remember that. And my forest license was FLA 18698. It's just burned into my brain. Anyways, so it was like being a raven looking at these photos, right? And I would, after years of doing this, I got really good at it. Like always knowing where I was in relation to these landmarks, like a great big veteran fir that stood way taller than all the rest of the forest, or a particular bend in the creek, or a rock outcrop. It's how I never got lost. That's how I don't get lost now. But nowadays, there's so much tech and information and misinformation and people telling you what to do and what not to do. I'm sure you're with me on this. It feels like a blizzard in a dark forest. And it's not the quiet clarity that Raven had or that I had when I was walking around in the forest. And, if you don't have a map, it's so easy in that blizzard to take a wrong turn and not even know it. So, we all seek purpose in our work and in our personal lives. This is, I think, what gives us fulfillment. It's what makes our jobs and our careers meaningful. But how can we stay connected with all of this noise, right? We're getting bombarded, right? How can we stay connected to our purpose and therefore not get lost when we don't have a map? Well, today's guest is Jeffrey Bornman. And Jeffrey creates empowerment for himself and others like me by being a champion, a mentor, and an extremely positive influence on all of us. Jeffrey's been one of my personal coaches for over a year. I met him through the Warriors Mastermind group that I'm in that's led by Bo Eason. And Jeffrey is absolutely amazing at helping people like you and me connect our lives to what he calls our cosmic purpose. Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us here today on CFX, The Connection of Things.
Absolutely. My sincere pleasure.
Well,
Truly, it is a privilege and an honor, Barry, to get to join you and commune with you
oh,
this way.
well,
Thank you.
it's our honor for sure. Now, Jeffrey, can you just take a minute maybe and share with people a little bit about you? Who's Jeffrey?
Hmm, great. It all started on the day I was born, but I'll spare you a lot of the middle
Oh,
stuff.
thanks.
Wait, how much time can I have?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we're over
you know,
time already. No.
right? What you just said a moment ago about me being an amazing uh, coach and trainer. And the truth is, what's amazing isn't really me, it's the principles that I've come to see that are present in the universe and in our lives if we choose to employ them. And the cool part about this is that, Barry, you and I have been doing the same thing in parallel lives, that my entire career as a personal trainer and as a life coach and as a stage training coach really is cumulative effect.
Yeah.
Every decision, every choice, every action, every thought has a manifestation in our life in some way. And it isn't that I'm so clever that I'll allow me to enlighten you on the mysteries of the universe. As a trainer, what I saw and have seen and continue to see, but as a young person, especially as a young trainer with clients that would be, say, CEOs and government officials and, movie stars even, uh, I didn't feel like I was in a position to tell people how to live their life, but I could see that what was missing were some of these aspects of a rootedness into meaning and purpose
Wow.
and some other techniques. Exactly. So I had to get serious about it. I'm not going to stand here and count your repetitions while you push weight. I mean, I can do that, but that so diminishes what this could be.
Yeah.
And if the opportunity to develop this trust, that you trust me to guide you in these places, if I have that trust with you as my client, then I would be wasting that opportunity to just make it about the surface outcome of your fitness,
Yeah.
as opposed to, why don't we do this and make this about your whole life?
Yeah.
And we can use the context of fitness endeavors to learn and practice and evolve in life skills that will change how everything in your life unfolds.
Well,
So that's kind of how I came to some of these things that we might talk about, depending on
yeah.
where the conversation goes this morning.
Yeah. You see deeply beyond below the surface, and that's where we need to go. I'm really excited about this because unlocking prosperity. That's where we need to go. Jeffrey, I'm going to get that intro music that we love going, and we're going to get on with the show.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so in my experience working with Jeffrey, he's helped me literally draw a map that connects what I call my intrinsic motivations to my purpose, which I feel like is embedded in cumulative effects. So, I mean, that's kind of deep, but like intrinsic motivation is like the stuff that I just want to do. Like I get up in the morning and I want to do it. I feel compelled to do it. So it's like no effort, right? And when you can connect that, your intrinsic motivation, to the work you're doing, which is fulfilling a purpose that's a gift to the world, well, that's when we say you're crushing it. So, Jeffrey, you're certainly in my world, you're probably the most connected person to the energy of the universe that I know. Um, and I know that if more of us can connect and tap into that, I feel like that's going to be one of the key elements we need to unlock prosperity from conflict, from mistrust, from the isolation which we're really feeling right now in COVID. Um, it's that connection to that universal energy. So, but it's a big thing, and not, I certainly wasn't used to thinking like this. Where do we start on this journey, and maybe help us understand a little bit better what's cosmic occupation?
Hmm. Thank you for that question. It's beautiful and beautifully presented. Uh, Cosmic occupation. So let me go back. Uh, Personal training,
All
uh,
right.
big, powerful clients. Again, in my mind, as a young, early 20s kid, um, this is not anything they were teaching us in training school, nor was I any of my mentors who were really amazing. Former Olympic athletes, former professional athletes. High level. This was the late 80s, so the whole experience of personal training, the way we think of it now, that had not yet happened, that arc of this profession, let alone boot camps and group exercise fitness classes. Jane Fonda was doing her thing, but that's about it. So I had really amazing trainers that were training me, because the only way you really would sort of find yourself in this profession is that was a continuation of a career in your body, with your body. And so, but nobody was training me any of these ways of what's the internal experience that's happening inside the individual, that's manifesting as their body, as their well-being, as their physical experience. So for some reason, I could see that was what was happening. I could see that there was an internal component that was manifesting as a physical component, but I didn't have a pathway. I had not been trained in that area. And then I would start to have clients that would have the same injury, for instance. So, the same impingement in their shoulder, and turned out they had the same condition happening in their life. Like they couldn't get their arms around about that, or their understanding their legs, that which stood under them, was somehow limited or broken or impinged. So then I'm starting to really get evidence from my clients that in watching them and then hearing their stories, that there's a truth to this internal element manifesting as the external element. So of course
Wow.
I started to study that. Yes, it was profound, because it was also extremely intimidating. Where do you start that conversation with yourself, let alone how do I approach somebody who's, like I said, a CEO of an organization that is internationally known, and I buy their product, and I'm going to go up to this guy and go, well, you know, the problem with your body really isn't your body, it's how you're living your life. So why don't we dismantle all of those beliefs and put it back together again in a different package, and then you might experience the health that somewhere is supposed to be yours.
You know,
Again, as a kid, go ahead.
those of us who are practitioners feel this same thing. Like, how do you go to the CEO of a big mining company or the woodlands manager at the forestry company and say, hey, we should do something different. It's going to cost more money. You're going to make less profit, but this is what we should do. Like, it's tough. Like, you feel
Yes,
like, well, who am I to say something like that?
exactly. I mean, so you know exactly where I was.
Yeah.
You know exactly where I was in my own assessment of my role and my position to fulfill on that role. And so for me, how I resolved that, or where I started, was with my own life. So if I can look into my own conditions and my own life and start seeing the things that are happening in my world that I am drawing to me based on my internal experience, how my body is behaving based on my internal experience, then at least I'll start having a vocabulary, a pathway, and some evidence.
Right.
So with that, I started looking at, well, I'll tell you here, so as all this awareness was starting to happen in me, there was also, I was blessed with uh, two sort of different populations of clientele. Some clients that could easily take the information, the scientific research, or the motivational tactic, or whatever approach I was suggesting we work with in the gym environment.
Oh, I
To it,
lost your sound
it
there.
worked,
Oh, there we go.
and still there.
Yeah, you're
And
there.
they're okay. And they were working. They were having success. I was participating in their success as their trainer. We were having, elevation together. But I had this other group of clientele that, no particular reason they fit, but they fit in this one category that they just weren't connecting. We had a great time while they were there. They had a great workout because that was the time, that's what I was making sure that happened in the time that we spent together.
Yeah.
But in terms of taking it out into their life and
Right.
adopting some of the suggestions, and there was no relationship to it. So I started to ask people in this category, uh, what is it that works, between you and me? What am I doing with you that makes it so that when I share with you or suggest something to you, or, chase you down with a particular goal that we're going to achieve today, how is it that you relate to that? And every one of them, not in the same wording, but for the most part, I paraphrase, but for a whole cadre of clients that all said, I know what I'm doing on the planet. I know what I need my body to do. I know the level of fitness that I need to achieve and maintain and to support the very purpose that I'm doing and working in this lifetime on this whole planet. And I don't love being here with you at 5:30 in the morning, although I love being here with you at 5:30 in the morning. I would choose to do it at a different hour of the day if I had no other responsibilities and duties, but I know where my well-being fits into my life journey. Aha. So I go over here and it's like reverse the question. Why doesn't that work for you when I suggest that you cut dairy out of your diet? Why won't you give that a try for 6 weeks and just see how your body changes? I'm not asking you to commit to it for your lifetime.
Right.
Why won't you, but within 6 hours, they're having dessert and there's cheesecake involved. So like, it doesn't even get as far as 6 weeks, it gets 6 hours. And everybody had a different sort of mishmash of answers, but so I could see what was really the key was what was happening over here. Every single person, again, they came back to me in a different way of expressing it, but they knew where fitness fit into their lives. But bigger than that, they knew what their life was all about. So then they weren't trying to achieve a certain appearance of somebody on a billboard. They knew what level of well-being they needed for their purpose on this planet. That's how I started to see the value and understanding of this thing that now I call a cosmic occupation, because through the years in working with clients, so immediately I started a process, interestingly enough, that when I was a teenager, my family belonged to a congregation where we brought in an expert that took our whole congregation through a series of questions and activities to help people figure out what they're really good at, what they really care about, what their sort of purpose in life was, even though that wasn't necessarily the terminology that he used. But with the idea that then you, the individual, whether you're a child, a teenager, or an elder, could find a place of service that not only suited you the best so that you would continue to get benefit from being a part of this congregation, it would serve the congregation the best.
Right.
Because obviously, the more it's coming from within, the more it's a gift and a talent, and you're sharing it just because it comes naturally, the exponential increase that's going to occur when all of these people are together doing that. And certainly in the ideal of a loving environment that a congregation would suggest, then it's even that much greater. So I went back to that. I still had the exercises. I still had some of the questions, the notebook from that period in my life, and started working with those questions with this other population over here that was missing. And then as soon as those people started, not everybody did it, not everybody was interested. Some people just wanted a particular dress size, and that was their only goal here. But those that picked up the baton and played with it and figured out how to run with it, those people started performing like these people. So that's 25, 30 years ago that I saw this is a key to success in fitness and in everything else in our lives, understanding what you're really doing here.
Understanding what, so that's it. Like, what am I doing? How do I do it? And I know that when you asked me that, I was like, well, I do lots of stuff. And so you asked me some questions. Like, I remember one of them was, if I won the lottery and all my needs were being met by, having that money, what would I do? And I remember at first thinking, I'd sleep in and I'd golf and I'd hang out on the beach and I don't know. I just generally please myself. But then I realized pretty quickly I'd be bored. Mm-hmm. So
Hmm.
You ask people a few different questions to get them sort of thinking about this and understanding, like what is it really that's inside this intrinsic motivation?
Yes, yeah. What I sort of came to, the best tool that I started to see was really working for people to kind of get their mind and their arms around this idea of cosmic occupation. I didn't use that terminology when I started using this tool, but I've come to see, like I said, that this is really a bigger contribution that you're making, not just to the one project that you're working on, not just to the one company or organization that you work with, not just to your family, not just to your community, not just to the creator. Like,
Right.
this is a legacy that you're leaving. This is a frequency, a vibration that you're holding at this quadrant of the universe.
Yeah.
This is honoring all of your ancestors, life after life after life after life after life after life after life, that gave you this life, this set of opportunities, this place in time to
Yeah.
impact and create. So I could see, after I started working with it for a while, it's cosmic. We need to think of it in this way.
Yeah.
Huge, beyond this lifetime, beyond what I can accomplish by myself in this one life. So the thing that I started to work with people is sort of a collage of answers to a bunch of questions, that if you could see the things that, answer these random questions that kept coming back to what I'm most deeply rooted in, what I really care about, where I feel the most grateful, where I'm the most, in the state of gratitude, where I am most profoundly thankful for my life.
Yeah.
When I look back at ancient cultures, what are the cultures that I connect with? Do I connect with the Greeks because of their idealism in their philosophy? So it wasn't just idealism in their physical well-being, but in their architecture and in their democracy. Or the Romans that became conquerors. Do I connect with conquering and building? Do I
Right.
connect with ancient Chinese culture and Chinese medicine or meditation? Or like, where do you look at history and go, boy, that's just intriguing? Imagine 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, they were doing that.
So like that's like it's for a lot of people that work in my business, like doing cumulative effects assessments, say for development projects or assessing big land use plans. Um, I think we're often not thinking on that scale, and yet that's been key. And I'll just share this with people, like Jeffrey's really big scale, and this. But thinking about, for me, I'm thinking, well, what am I great? Where am I connecting, and where do I feel like I'm getting that fulfillment in my work? Is when I'm doing stuff that impacts our watershed, and I see people benefiting from having opportunities for employment coming forward, or the security of long-term jobs, while at the same time knowing that the water quality that feeds our beautiful lake is being cared for. So like when I can feel like those things are happening, then I feel like, as Jeffrey's saying, like I feel connected to that ancient wisdom. I feel like I'm working within the indigenous knowledge that's been here for 12 to 15,000 years, and all of that wisdom, because it gives me a sense of place. So it's like these are big concepts you're identifying, but then people have to try to narrow themselves down and see how they fit. You're part of
Into
the
right
system.
now.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
part of the system. And like we
you're
were
part of
talking
it.
with Mary last week, like you send out ripples.
Exactly, exactly. So beautiful. I love that. Thank you. You touched on several really important key aspects, just getting right in there. Take that same question of what I look back at ancient cultures, think forward 500 years, 1,000 years. What would you like mankind, in whatever form it happens to be at that point, to look back at this age, and what would you like them to know? What
Yeah.
would you like them to not just think of us as, in terms of, I want to influence your opinion? uh, am I living my life so that historically, if somebody were to review my life, the way we look at Leonardo da Vinci, or the way we look at Isaac Newton, or Plato, and we dismantle their lives to understand how they lived and what motivated them, am I living my life with that kind of importance, a sense of importance about every action, every choice that I am negotiating?
Yeah.
And is it creating that historical aspect that I want people to understand about what life was like at the turn of the 21st century? And so understanding that idea of a ripple effect, what I'm doing right now is going to have that ripple effect off into the future. That's the law of the universe. Your energy will be ricocheting for eternity. So with that knowledge, that basic science we learned in 7th grade, with that knowledge, how about I use that framework to determine and measure for myself all the things that I'm doing right here and right now? And
That's
when you were talking
service,
about
right? That's
protecting,
service.
exactly, I was just going there right there. Two of the things that are really key is the idea of using passion,
Yeah.
things that you really care about, that engaged in that activity that you could just do for hours and hours and hours and hours. And your mom was calling, it's where are you, Barry? Streetlights are on, come home. And you were right in your room doing this thing, or out in the garage building this thing, or
Right.
next door with your neighbor co-creating this thing, even in a fantasy
I was
world
still
of
out on the street playing road hockey, taking shots.
there you go. That's a perfect example. So that passion, and then an understanding that this really is a life of service.
Yeah.
You're here to serve. You're here to serve the higher power. You're here to serve your ancestors.
Yeah.
Just to honor them. You're here to serve your community. You're here to serve your family. You're here to serve. And so if you can find a way to put passion and service into operation with the awareness of the ripple effect, cumulative effect.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the big thing. Like I've always been into service myself. I was, a member of the BC Forestry Association. I was a kinsman. I'm a Rotarian. I was a president a couple of years ago. I started a nonprofit called BC Tomorrow. Those are all avenues of community service. But what you're talking about is bringing your service into your work, into your career. And I'm just thinking, like, if I'm a mining company, and I'm long dead, what was the legacy that our company left for this place?
Yes.
And when you start to think about that's cumulative effects. It really is, in a nutshell.
100%, 100%. And it doesn't preclude you necessarily from extracting ore from the crust of the earth.
Right.
So it isn't necessarily like, well, you're damaging everything and you've got to go.
No.
How about if you choose to do it in a way that you're aware of the cumulative effect?
Right.
Prosperity, like you say.
Yeah.
Still creating an economy, but creating it with a sense of the long-term effect.
Right.
And my personal place of service.
Yeah.
So if I'm bringing my gifts and my talents and the things that I love about life into the very tasks that I'm doing at my job as a miner or as a manager or as a company owner, whatever level I'm in, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as I'm bringing that love into the operation, then I'm still participating in the ripple effect that I want to see happen wherever I am in my place of service and whatever my passion might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can, if you want to take the time to do it right now, just to give people some guidance of kind of what this, there are ways to figure this out, but some of the questions that you can ask yourself, and again, there's no one answer, and the answer itself isn't really the goal. We want sort of a response that puts you in a place within yourself. So there's, a bunch of questions like the one about history and when I look back, or the one about history when I look forward, what do I want to, or where are my passions?
All right.
And then create from those, and it could be you draw pictures or cut pictures out of a magazine, or it could be one clear, 2-word statement. Put all of these pieces together to sort of create a collage of sort of the way like a vision board, except the vision board really is just a reflection back to you of exactly who you are, and a reminder that all of these things are, basically leading you down the path to the ability of saying, aha, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And this is how I do it.
Well,
these are the gifts. These are the joy and the talent that's in me that comes through me when I do this activity.
Let's share a couple of examples of questions, maybe without answering them, and then we're going to move into the Forest of Whispering Speakers.
All right, good. It's perfect. So you have your homework assignment. You have a collage to create.
Yeah.
And some of the questions that you might ask yourself to, again, get to deep responses from within yourself that give you access to some of the things that you most care about, what your life really means, what you're most interested in leaving
Gonna write
with
these
this
down.
life. All right, good. Because then the other piece of this is that then it's not a goal. This is that reason I call it cosmic, is because this is an activity that you're doing that's really benefiting the entire universe.
Right.
That's really benefiting, life before you got here. You're taking all of those lives and transmuting it like a kaleidoscope into a different picture. And
Yeah.
you're changing perhaps or influencing the way things are going to go in the future.
I think we call
So
that connection.
connection. Exactly. Brilliant. Exactly. All right. Some of the questions. I don't want to, take up too much of your time on this.
Okay.
What are my deepest fears? What am I most afraid of? Because mostly the thing that we're afraid of is related to the thing that we love the most.
Yeah.
So that's the question could be, what am I afraid of for myself in my own life? And what about for all of mankind?
Right.
I'm afraid that children go to bed hungry. I'm afraid that people go through the day unloved. People don't get enough hugs. I mean, like, it can take any form, but it still leads you to the clear part of yourself of what matters.
Right.
That's the key. Other questions. If you look through old letters and yearbooks, or for the younger generation, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok posts where people have responded to you in a certain way, what are the themes? What do they say? You always do this. You always make me laugh. Or you always, show up right on time with a solution to a problem that I thought I was never going to get out of. You always make me feel safe and secure. You always dispel the fear that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
There's going to be themes, and the more you pay attention to those, then you start seeing some of your magic gifts.
Yeah.
Some of your magic, that you bring into every situation, everywhere you go. And here's the beauty of this whole idea of cosmic occupation is now, once you really know what that is, once you really wrap your hands around this and say, this is what I do and this is how I do it, that's the answer to every question.
Yeah.
Every decision you make, is this
Right.
allowing me to engage more deeply in service, utilizing this cosmic occupation? And every time you're in a situation where you're like, oh, now what am I going to do? Or holy, what do I do? Get into service, employ that cosmic occupation, and your route, your contribution, why this accident happened in front of you, how to get through this argument with your family, how to manage this calamity, because you're here to employ that cosmic occupation. So as soon as you get to work at it, there will be the pathway through it. So knowing this is so much more powerful than just even this is my ripple effect and this is what I'm doing. It gives you a tool to work with that allows you to get through life far more effectively, filled with joy, filled with purpose, filled with satisfaction.
That's a great segue to the Forest of Whispering Speakers, which I'm going to move to. But we'll put down all these questions in the show notes.
Great.
You've got a few more. I'll put them in the show notes. People can get. But I'm going to put up our Forest of Whispering Speakers banner, crank up that music, and then I'm going to share with you one of my most inspirational songs that I think is right on the nose with what Jeffrey's talking about.
Yay.
Is a segment that I created to dig into some lyrical insights, and at least for now, it's kind of my interpretation on where I can find meaning from some of our great musical artists and the words they put down. And I used to just get caught up in the melody, but I've really tuned into the lyrics. So the song I want to share today is called "I Dare You to Move" by Switchfoot. I think it was 2008 actually, and I've got there I got the album up on the screen, which is um, it's a really interesting way I got connected to this song, Jeffrey. Karen and I used to listen to it a lot when we were training for the Dublin Marathon. That was back in 2012. That was Karen's first marathon. It was a really cool event. And I was watching this video at the time. I must have watched it a couple hundred times. Three guys: Josh Cox, Meb Keflezighi, and Ryan Hall. The three top U.S. marathoners. Ryan actually went on to represent the U.S. in the Olympics, got silver medal in London, and Meb's won the New York City Marathon a couple times. Josh Cox holds the record for the 50K. And so these guys are like, they're monsters in the sport. And they were training on this place called Green Road in Mammoth, California. They train up there because it's high elevation. And so I was always watching that for inspiration while I was training for my marathon. So that's how I got connected. The song's got absolutely nothing to do with running. But you need to know that because that's how I got dialed into it. Anyways, it starts out, which I think the song is like a dad talking, because he's a male singer, talking to his newborn child. But it's also like looking at yourself every day, born new, every day, right? So here's the lyrics. Let me get my glasses because I don't have them memorized. Here's how it goes. Welcome to the planet. Welcome to existence. Everyone's here. Everybody's watching you now. Everybody waits for you now. What happens next? Right?
Mm.
So that's pretty. To me, that's. Did you hear that? Oh, that's your siren. I wonder
Yeah.
what's happening next.
You're going right by the front door here.
You gotta love live. Anyways, so what happens? So this to me is that it's what you were talking about. It's up to us to decide what to do. We get to create our own future. And then the lyrics go on, I dare you to move. I dare you to lift yourself up off the floor. I dare you to move like today never happened. This is the best part. Like today never happened. This is the new you, right? Breaking the old habits, the learned behaviors, the paradigms. Just because of business as usual and the way we've always done it, why can't we do it different? Does the definitions of cumulative effects do not have to stay the same? Welcome to the fallout. Oh, choices like this are tough and there's consequences. It's not always going to be pretty. Welcome to the resistance, right? This is what keeps us from our dreams. The tension is here between who you are and who you could be, right? Isn't that what you were just saying, Jeffrey? Between how it
Absolutely.
is and how it should be. And so this is to me, that's the essence of cosmic occupation right in this song. These dudes, maybe
Absolutely.
these dudes were working with you. I don't know. But maybe redemption has stories to tell. Maybe forgiveness is right where you fell. Where can you run to escape from yourself? Where are you going to go? Redemption is right here. So I believe it's within us through our spiritual connection. And, Jeffrey and you talk about this, but it's like this stuff is way bigger than us, right?
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
way bigger than
Yes.
us. So,
Yes.
Switchfoot.
Such a beautiful song. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on a side note here.
Yeah.
I love that you do this, that you find a song and deconstruct it or listen to it or share the lyrics, because artists really are, one of them, if not the most important place of service in our society. When we look back at ancient cultures, we look at the art, we look at the literature, we look at the philosophy, we look at what artists created and left behind. Artists set the ideals that we all live up to. And right there, what you just read are, if we could live up to those ideals right there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not so amazing. It's that the structures that we can put into our lives make amazing changes.
Yeah.
And those lyrics right there establish that for you. Welcome to the show. All your ancestors are here. All your angels are here.
And it's
All of
not
your
going to be
thoughts are
easy.
here. It's not exactly,
Not going to be easy.
exactly.
I got this note from Martin in the Yukon. He couldn't join us live for today, but he sent this note, and I just want to read it because it's kind of the same thing. Like, so you know, you remember my story about walking around with no map and all of that, and using the Ravens
Mm-hmm.
view. He said it
Mm-hmm.
reminded him of the time when I co-piloted a Cessna 185 from Inuvik, Northwest Territories, to the Whitehorse, Yukon. No GPS, no nothing. I had a map in my lap, and every few minutes tell the pilot a little left, a little to the right. We're good. And for almost 4 hours, I knew exactly where we were on that map because I figured if I lost it once, I'd never find it again. And I know what he was doing. He was constantly looking at the ground, seeing what was on the ground and testing it. And that's what we're doing, right? That's this constant adjustment. And it's not easy. It's hard. But if you that this is what I'm talking about Jeffrey creating a map for you. Um,
The map is already in us.
yeah,
And I love the idea of Raven's view because that's what working from that place does. It puts us up at that viewpoint, whether it's on a promontory on the side of a mountain or we're gliding in our glider of life, where our vision is up in that glider looking down on our lives. And when you have a sense of that cosmic occupation, that real gift, that real talent set, that real contribution, where you rectify things or perhaps rearrange the past and influence where the future goes, that's a viewpoint that you get to see where everything can be, might be, could
right.
have been, will be going forward. I love that you use that story to relate to this whole process that we're talking about here
Well,
today. Just beautiful.
and
And
thank you
thank
to
you,
Martin.
Martin,
Yeah,
because I was going to say that's
it
that's beautiful.
it's a shared reality, and this is the thing about connecting. When you do that, it becomes more powerful. So um, we're gonna move to my favorite part of the show, where I get to terrorize the guest with rapid fire questions, and then
Cool.
we're gonna touch on a couple things after that about gratitude and compassion. But before we get there, we're gonna put Jeffrey up on the grill, and I'm gonna
Cool.
win YouTube live stream bingo because that's my dog rattling off in the background. Anyways, Jeffrey, rapid fire cues. You know the drill. This is our quick questions, and I just sort of want your immediate answer. I took care because you're such a good friend of mine that I didn't put anything dangerous in here. But we'll get to know you a little bit better.
Great. Yeah.
You can tell. Just look at him. All right. Are you ready?
Indeed.
Favorite day of the week?
Tuesday.
Polka dots, stripes, or solids?
Polka dots.
Nice. I like polka dots. Do you own a bicycle?
2.
Two. Okay, Jeffrey. Style or function?
Form follows function. So style relative to function.
I knew you.
But function first.
Oh,
Function is the foundation.
I agree.
You know, I love architecture that shows the engineering.
Right.
You know, so that's a style. But what I connect to is the function.
Yeah,
I'm a process person.
I agree. I think you got to start with the function, but nothing wrong with looking good doing it.
Of course.
Disco ball or strobe light?
Disco ball.
Butterfly or front crawl?
Front crawl.
Jeffrey is a very accomplished swimmer, so I was curious to see what he's going to say there. Butterfly looks like an absolute war in the water, I'm telling you. At least when I do it.
I find that when I do freestyle, when I crawl, forward crawl, it allows me a state of meditation that I really sort of transcends my body and the water. Butterfly, I have to think about. So it's a benefit to be in your body and recruiting and, utilizing, the dance of the musculature. But overall, what I really love is that state of meditating when I'm in the pool. So
All right.
that's why I went with crawl.
Well, then you just killed question 9, which you'll laugh at later. But that's okay. That's good. That's how this goes. This works both ways. Jeffrey, you live in Southern California, one of the most beautiful places around. What's one thing you love about being there?
The pioneer spirit. We're still frontiersmen here. We just ran out of land. So, so then we are a mindset of people that aerospace industry is here for a reason.
Yeah.
Entertainment and art is here for a reason. Religion and spirituality and well-being and fitness and nutrition are here for a reason.
Tech.
Because it's still a part of the mindset of the frontiersman.
Yeah.
Like everything was working out just fine where I was, but there's better. Let's go find that.
Right.
And that's what I love about living here.
Go West, young man. Hey, the next question is about Suits, and it's not the Netflix show. All right. Suit and tie or track suit?
That's an amazing question because, I love a suit and tie, but my job requires a tracksuit.
You'd be like,
I would say I will go with suit and tie.
Do you wear your tracksuit underneath your suit like Superman?
There you go.
All right. So question 9 that we found out might not matter anymore. For meditation, do you sit down or lie down? But it sounds like you swim.
Ideally, my desire is to be in a constant state of meditation in all things.
Wow.
So I start in the morning with a sitting and contact and establish that relationship and renew that. And then ideally move through my day in a constant state of oneness with the Most High.
Wow.
I practice at that. I haven't mastered it, but I work toward it. So at all times.
Well, that gives me something to work for. I'm new at that, but it's really powerful, and I love it. I love how it's opening up my cosmic purpose. Jeffrey, would you wear a sweater or a hoodie?
Sweater.
And the best question of all, save for the last, and also the toughest: past, present, or future?
Future.
I think that's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. So.
And I'll tell you, future is the process of cumulative effect.
Totally.
If I put my vision toward the future, that informs what I'm doing now based on the stories and understandings of the past.
Exactly.
So future, a relationship with the future gives you a relationship with the present and the past in a way that then those become tools toward creating an accomplishment as opposed to shit that happened, stuff I do, things I'm hoping for.
Yeah. That's why it's the toughest question, because it's actually the connection of all three.
Correct. Beautiful.
But I wanted to push you back on your heel just for a moment, because, we're all trying to catch up with you. All right. So there's two other, I think we've talked, there's two other things we've talked about, or we wanted to talk about. One was gratitude and the other was compassion. And I think, very quickly on gratitude, we sort of have covered that. It's this ability to, it's awareness, right, of the opportunities that you have, which changes your energy, right? If you could, can you talk to that quickly? Because we're starting to get late in the show.
Yes. Take it back to the idea of Raven's view. So if we use gratitude as a tool to accomplish perspective, let's think of it like that, as opposed to all the other ways that gratitude can play a role in our lives and our well-being. Let's just look at it for perspective. If I'm going throughout my day, if in fact at the beginning of at the process of bringing gratitude into my life, I have to look for things to say thank you for.
Right.
Thank you for the food. Thank you for the sunlight. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you for the family I love. Ultimately, what that starts to tell you is that everything really in the universe is working on your side. It's working for you. There's not so much against you as we think when we put our attention to that couple of little things each day that, actually turn out to just be tasks that come along with the things that I wanted in my life. It's just maintenance.
Yeah.
And so if I can even say thank you for the task, that I think is a problem, then I realize, oh, this is the maintenance that goes along with having the beautiful home that I love, having the family
Yeah.
that I love, having the career that I love, giving me perspective. But what starts to happen is the more you're saying thank you for the things, the conditions, the circumstances, the unfoldment of things that you thought about, I want that, and then you see it happening in your life and coming to find a way to express gratitude for it, you start to see your role in the co-creation process with the universe. Because I know what I told the universe I needed or wanted. I drew the outline, like when we were kids, we colored in a coloring book. I drew the outline of the image, and this universe that loves me and sustains me and supports me comes in and fills it with all of these unbelievable things that I didn't even know to ask for. I didn't even know this was available. I said, give me this little outline. And the universe said, oh, I got that, but I got this, and I got this, and I got this. And you know what? You're going to love this. I have this for you too.
Yeah.
So that then you find yourself constantly saying thank you for things that you didn't even know were available to you. But you start to really see your own power as a creator.
Right.
You start to see your role in co-creating what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're believing is in fact manifesting as your life, as your conditions, as your ripple effect, as your cumulative effect.
Right.
And so then that gives you so much power over your circumstances, gives you that raven's view. You can look down at all that's happening and you can choose and you can create that. So figuring out how to put gratitude in your life, there are ways to do that. But ideally, I'll leave you to figure that out, but use the process of, again, even if you can't really muster it truthfully from within, if you're like, all right, thanks for my problems. Thanks for the crappy boss. Thanks for the shitty weather. Thanks for the old car that keeps breaking down. Ultimately, keep moving up on that ladder of gratitude to where you really mean it.
This is how I see it. Is that, and you're right on it at the beginning of that was. It connects us to the outcomes of the system, and so like a lot of times we feel despair because we feel like we have no impact, but this actually empowers us to be part of it. So
beautiful. Yes.
So the last piece I want to talk about is compassion. So just to share a quick little story here. It was about 10 years ago, I got a chance to work with another executive coach. Her name was Alexandra. And, I'm very grateful to my supervisor at the time, Terry Smith, who saw that I could benefit from this and made that possible. I think at the time I was struggling with a few things that I didn't really realize with, and it was making me a little prickly at work. So it's trying to help me, but also help our team. And so, I sat down with Alexandra. She asked me a few questions, and I answered with my typical, really bold, confident, I can do anything in the world I want to kind of attitude. But she could see just underneath that, there was something else. And she asked me one question, which really changed my life after that point. But simple little question. She said, Barry, what does it mean to be kind to yourself? And it stopped me in my tracks. I honestly had no answer. We left the meeting. She gave me some readings, a whole bunch of homework, a bunch of exploration to do. I had to get honest with myself. And that really kind of shocked me. And I realized through that process that I was harboring a lot of guilt because I felt that I had let myself down on a few things. And once I was able to deal with that, to come to grips with it, and be more compassionate to myself, I grew as a person and as a professional, and I became a lot more fun guy to be around. So you're constantly talking about this idea of compassion to ourselves, but also our condition in life, right? And that this is critical for our success. Can you explore that just a little bit? We have about 3 minutes.
Yeah, you don't have to answer the question, but you could just, in your own mind, bring up what your answer was when she said that. Ask you that question: what does it mean to be kind to myself? And to really embrace myself, embrace my conditions, because there's forgiveness wrapped in there.
That's
there's
what it
love
was.
wrapped in there. And when I can start to forgive myself, then I'm no longer holding on to those stories of the past. I can start to forgive other people. Those were just things that happened. No longer do they have control over how I move freely about the cabin, or am not freely about the cabin. And the other thing that does is, as I start to find place to forgive myself for past choices when I didn't know better, when I did something that hurt somebody, suddenly then I can, at a certain point, take that understanding and apply that to other people in my life.
Yeah.
They don't know either. They're struggling perhaps with the same problem I was struggling with.
Yeah.
They have the same feelings of insufficiency, or the same trauma in their childhood, or the same limiting beliefs that may have a different name or a different form, but they're stymieing the progress of that individual in the same way that those conditions stymied me in my progress.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the more I love myself and forgive myself, and I'm open to just accept myself in a state of compassion, like I am whole, I am perfect, I am made in the image and likeness of the Creator. There is no part of me that is not perfect. The only time that there is an element of me that's not, it's just a belief. That's all. And so once I can start to see myself in that radiance and wholeness of what I truly am, I start to see you that way. And I
Yeah.
can see past the conditions
That's it.
that limit us from communing as spirit, as whole individuals.
Yeah,
And
that's the wisdom right there, because in our land use work, right? It's about reconciling a lot of like griefs over the past, of crappy things that have been done, selfish things that have been done, outcomes that have turned out poorly, which leads to mistrust and conflict and everything else. And so you just said it, like once you get that compassion for yourself, then it's available for others, and you can leave that stuff behind and then create that future, because we can't go back. So I think that's unlocking prosperity. That's one of the key elements right there. And you don't do this stuff. It's bigger than you, Jeffrey, or me. It's all of us, right? So that
yes,
has to happen, or else we get
yes.
stuck. And you see it in politics right now. We're like this because we're
Mhm.
not willing to either forgive ourselves or the other person.
Because two sides are limited in a belief that if you get what you want, I can't have what I want.
Right.
Instead of, the reality is that there's enough of everything everywhere to go around.
Right.
We can all have what we need, and in fact, what we want.
Yeah.
So, but all these things that we're talking about today, the more those are a part of your normal thought process and the normal way you move throughout your life,
Yeah.
then those loggerheads that we're talking about and that we're observing so much in our life right now, those things start to disintegrate. Because the more I have compassion for you, the more I'm in service, the more I know my cosmic occupation, the more I know where I stand in the universe, then my approach to every question, every problem, and every place of service, or every opportunity for service, is going to be a different, I'm going to bring with me a different briefcase
And
entirely.
yeah, it's been my experience. That's when we break the deadlock. That's when people spend time exploring together first, not coming with positions. Then we learn about each other. I remember, so many times I worked in multi-stakeholder groups where people are divided on either side of the room, but if you commit to a period of time of real learning and understanding, um, the solutions come out. They just emerge,
That's right.
because you get rid of all this other stuff. Jeffrey, we've got to get to, I mean, we'll probably be having another show because we can't possibly fit it all into this time slot. But we're going to move to the
Great.
CFX library, another segment that I put together every week because I know that the people are going to be like really interested in this kind of stuff, to grow both personally but also in their career, and allow them to achieve their business that they want as well. I ask every guest to sort of share a reference or a document or a book or something that they would recommend for people to follow up with. What's your recommendation for this week?
Such a great question. I love that you do this too, because it gives people the opportunity to explore the avenues that are new or, interesting to them. When you asked me that question the other day, what I came up with, what I thought immediately, and so I went with my first initial thought, that really works with the idea of cumulative effect in your life, therefore using your life to impact the cumulative effect of society on the planet and
Yeah.
the economy and other people's. It's an old book called As a Man Thinketh, and it's
Mm.
probably about, I'd say, 100 years old. This copy that I happen to have was my grandfather's, from a printing in the 1960s, and then he took it to a bookbinder, had it bound, wrote me a note about taking the ideas of everything you think manifests itself in your life. Every thought you entertain, every belief you hold dear manifests itself in a ripple effect, in a cumulative effect in your life.
Wow.
Understanding that gives you the tool. All you have to do is subdue your mind. That is the only work there is to do on this planet, in this life form, on the physical plane. Manage that.
As a man thinketh,
Work is done.
I'll get a link
James
and
Allen,
James
by
Allen.
James Allen, is
I
the author.
I will put a link in the show notes for people to that. I'm going to be
A very
definitely
easy
getting
read.
myself a copy.
Yes, please do.
How many times have you read it, roughly?
Uh, you know I was going off to college when my grandfather gave me that book,
Wow.
and I've probably read it hundreds of times. In that, I glanced through it this morning, where
Wow.
I'll pick it up, and it's like scripture. It's like
Yeah.
any wisdom teaching. It Wherever your eyes land, there's something that's valuable and usable right now today. It's
Nice.
that kind of a book. It's not a sort of, I read this book and I learned something. It's, I have a valuable tool that helps me continue to manage my life and build what I want. As a
Wow.
Man Thinketh.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a personal. It's a piece of you, Jeffrey. So thank you for connecting that with us. Um, yeah, we've run out of time for the show. How can people connect with you, Jeffrey?
Mm. Several things. One of the things, the way you and I know each other is through the work I do with Bo Eason, who is a master at helping people tell their story.
Yeah.
And what I've learned when you ask me about the future, or past or present, is that the stories of our past lead us to our future.
Yeah.
So the more perspective we have over our stories and understand what role they play in how we're living today, and therefore the future that we're creating, it's an amazing tool. So learn how to tell your story. That's boeason.com.
Always stuck on.
Another place I serve is at Spirit Fire Meditation Center. And that, if you don't meditate, find a way to do that. And we have a wonderful program there, spiritfire.com, that helps people who have no relationship with meditation, therefore, uncertainty about what's involved and how to do it. Go there and you'll find some tools that will help. But those two pieces, you can find me at both of those organizations, but those are both tools that I would highly encourage people to begin to develop,
You could
to create
also,
the life that you want.
I could connect you to Jeffrey as well. So there's three ways.
Sure.
Jeffrey, I checked out spiritfire.com and I want to go there. They have a center in Massachusetts. And I looked at the center and guess what it said? It's all about the land and there's a big, beautiful forest there. And I was like,
Yes.
this is my
Stunning.
place. I got to go
Stunning.
there.
That's right. It's right on the border of Massachusetts and Vermont. So our
Oh,
90 acres of woods butts up against national forests and
wow.
state forests. It's hundreds of miles of hiking available, and beautiful, beautiful forestry.
Oh,
Truly
yeah.
God's gift.
Yeah, that eastern deciduous forest and the Appalachians, total gem.
Yes, you know it.
I just invite people to my stories page at barryjwilson.com. I want to tell you that we're doing a big update to the website, which will be launched in January. And so you're going to really appreciate that. It's going to look quite a bit nicer than it does. But the content is still there. If you click on the stories tab, there's stuff there that I know you're going to enjoy. I'm also going to invite you to hit subscribe and turn on the bell here on YouTube. The cumulative effect of that does two things. It tells YouTube what you like, so they'll share with you more good stuff, certainly more connection stuff, and they'll also, because of you, YouTube will go, oh, this is probably pretty good. These people liked it. I'm going to share it with other people. And so other people are going to get a chance to work and listen with Jeffrey about finding their gifts. So you're going to be paying it forward and creating another ripple out there. So hit subscribe, hit the bell, and get that rolling. Thanks, Jeffrey, so much for helping and sharing with us. I'm so grateful for you.
Absolutely. And all I can say is take any of the things we talked about today, any one of them, any area, and just play with it and make it work. Figure out how to put it into work in your life, and I guarantee you'll have a better life.
Well, and I can vouch for that. Jeffrey's right. I've been doing that, and I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you, my
Excellent.
friend.
Excellent. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Sincerely grateful and a pleasure.
Yeah.